Our guest this week, Victor Janusz of the Victor Janusz Band. We've got a very special show for you folks. Let's go. Hey everybody, this is Kevin McManus. Thank you so much for listening to a very special show. This is the third episode. If you haven't listened to episode 2 or 1, I can send you direct links, or you can go to Spotify or Spreaker or YouTube or Anchor FM. Just let me know if you can't access, and I will go ahead and send you direct links. Facebook.com/very special show. Send us a direct message about anything. Or you can go to averyspecialshow.com, and there's some information about the guests on there, as well as links to the episodes. Thank you so much again for listening to this episode. We will get to the guest in a bit, but I wanted to take a moment to talk about a subject that is very important to me: kindness. Especially in this time when we are not able to spend a lot of time together, physically that is, spending our time in a meaningful way is important for everyone. It's important for mental, physical, and emotional health. Being kind is the best way to be, and it is always possible to be kind. So why not just try it out? Go ahead and filter all your interactions and filter all your communication through the lens of kindness. Take that extra moment and think about what you're saying, how you're saying it, and to whom you are speaking with. And speak across to the person that you are communicating with instead of down or up. Give the person as much respect as they deserve, which is the ultimate respect, and give them all the kindness in your soul and in your heart. I think that if we start focusing our communications and start using this lens of kindness, I think we'll all be better off. That being said, I really appreciate you listening. This is not an admonishment. This is a call to action. Let's all be kind, folks. Let's be as kind as we possibly can to each other, to one another. Thank you so much, and do enjoy this episode of a very special show. Okay, this week's guest has piano skills that have been described as a cross between Billy Joel and Vince Guaraldi, and his vocal style has been described as richly expressive, owing debts to Sinatra and Elvis Costello. He has spent the last 20 years working full-time in the professional entertainment industry, earning him the moniker Seattle's Piano Man. Please welcome Victor Janusz.
Yay!
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm excited to talk to you as well.
You have spent the last 20 years working full-time. Tell us a little bit about that journey. What kind of adventure took a young Victor Janusz and transformed him into Mr. Piano, artist and businessman?
Well, you know what's funny is I wasn't so young when I went into music. Okay, I was like 39 years old. I was a actor and director. I had my own theater company for a while called Triad Ensemble Theater. It was a small equity company, and we existed for about 7 years. But I was trying to have a full-time career as an actor and a director. And at some point, I was directing a cabaret piece with a guy named Ben Fleck at the piano and a singer. And she was doing a show about her life in Paris and Seattle as a singer. And so she hired me to help her write the show and direct it, because I was a guy in the theater and she wanted someone like that to help her. And so I had written a couple songs for her show as well. And I was telling Ben, the piano player, you're not playing the last song right. Move over. I'll show you how the feel should be. It should be a little more like a bossa nova. And so I was playing. And by that time, he and I had become good friends. And so without missing a beat, he said, I think you're supposed to be a piano player. I don't think you're supposed to be a director. And we all laughed. But then he called me at Christmas time and said, I need an understudy because I'm getting too many gigs and I want you to go in and play for 4 or 5 hours at El Gaucho. And I said, I can't play for that long. I just play by ear. I'm not a real piano player. And he said, well, pretend it's an acting job, pretend you're an actor, pretend to be a piano player. And we'll pay you $175 for the night. I said, you're kidding. You'll pay me that for one night or for the week? And he said, for the night. So I went, where do I report? I'll give it a try. And so that was it for me. He began using me more and more. And then he got me a job for 6 months at the Seattle Sheraton Gallery Lounge. And I had that job for 1 month, and the guy from Nordstrom came over and said, "I've been coming in to listen to you. We're very picky about who we let play our pianos and offer a job to, but we would like to offer you a day job playing for 6 or 7 hours. Do you think you could do that?" So without even trying, it seemed I had suddenly had a full-time job of 40 hours a week playing the piano. So I thought I might as well try this until they find me out. So I had to audition for that Sheraton job, by the way. They made me come in and go, "Well, Ben tells us we should just hire you, but we want you to come in and audition for the general manager. He has to make the final call." And there were two other piano players ahead of me. And one of them had a master's degree from the University of Washington, and he played all this classical music. And the next guy went up and played a Cole Porter song. And I remember thinking, he's playing that song better than Cole Porter ever played it. And I almost just left. I wanted to secretly walk out. And then the guy's name was Rob. I remember the GM of the Sheraton. His name was Rob. And he said, "Well, play something. Play anything you want." And I said, "Okay." He said, "Don't you have any music?" I said, "No, I just have a lot of songs learned." So I was playing Scotch and Soda and Speak Low, one of my favorite songs. And he was talking to me the whole time. And I thought, gee, he didn't talk to the other guys. And he said, "We're just going to hire you right now." And I said, "You've got to be kidding. That other guy was great." I tried talking to them while they played. And they said, one of them said, "If you want to talk, wait till I finish." And the other guy didn't do it. And you just started playing and carried on. How do you do that? How do you carry on a conversation and play the piano at the same time? And I said, "Well, I guess it's like if you sing and play the piano, you have to learn how to do that. So it's not that different. Only with talking, you don't get a chance to rehearse. So it's a little harder. But, it can be done. It's like juggling. How I explain it. It's like juggling, 3 or 4 balls in the air. You just get good at it if you're a juggler. So,
Right.
But that's how I started. I got the Sheraton and the Nordstrom job. And then I tell people this all the time. If you don't believe in God, you should at least believe in divine intervention, because at some point in your life, it's going to happen. I remember praying a lot, saying, "Oh, dear God, please let me have a life in the arts. Let me make my living as a performer, because I love telling stories and things." And I thought it was going to be full time in the theater or movies. And at the age of 39, I think divine intervention happened, because my mother told me, you have all these talents, but your God-given gift was to play the piano, because I was 8 years old when they brought the piano into the house, and in 2 weeks I was playing with 2 hands. I just knew how to do it, So they told me, "Oh, it's a gift from God," My
That's
parents were
amazing.
very Catholic, and so suddenly I had been praying all this time to God to give me to give me a life in the performing arts. But I should have been more specific, because it wasn't until I was 39 that suddenly the phone started ringing, and all these people, they wanted me. I started getting calls from people. We saw you playing with the bass player. I met my bass player because he just walked by at the Seattle Sheraton and said, "I'm going to sit in with you. You seem like you'd be fun to play with." And I said, I've never played with anybody. I'm brand new at this." And he just said, "Well, keep going." And he just started playing with me, and he was a really funny guy. And he's still my bass player. His name's Spencer Haveskeland. He's been playing with me for 22 years. And that's how we met. And then about maybe a year later at most, I got a call from Canlis saying, "We heard you at the Sheraton, and we heard you at this wedding, and we want to know if you have a quartet." And I said, "Yes, I do." They said, "Great. We're going to do Jazz Tuesdays, and we'd like you to be one of the people. We'd like you to kick off the whole thing." So I called my bass player, and I said, "Quick, what's a quartet?" I know it's 4, but I remember saying to him, "I know it's 4 because it's a quartet. But does that mean me at the piano plus 4, or me at the piano plus 3? And I remember he said, "God, you're an idiot. Do I have to teach you everything?" And I said, "Probably." And he said, "I'm going to get you the best saxophone player in town. His name's Mark Taylor. He's not going to want to rehearse. He's going to want to just show up at the gig. You just shake his hand and pretend you've known each other for years." And that's how I met Mark Taylor. It was like, he's playing the sax on most of my records. Medeiros Dixon plays it on Cafe Plivia, the full length record we put out a year and a half ago, because that was kind of a special project about French music that I was doing with Arwen Dewey, and he was available to rehearse with me every week. And Mark is so busy and popular. I still work with both of them, but lately it's been more Medeiros because he's young and upcoming, and Mark is too booked. But I'm great friends with the people that I've worked with a long time, because music can be very intimate, and at some point people they cross a point where they're either really into what you're doing and like working with you, and you sense that. And I always have to get the money, make sure there's the producing end, so because most of them are making their living full time in music. So you have to get I have to get my end together all the time. That's how I became a pretty decent producer. I've got people involved in producing with me that had the means to do so. I applied for grants and all that stuff. I told you I was a talker, so keep me on.
So I was gonna break away. We're gonna play Fruitcake Blues. I'd like to hear a little bit about that album. What that album looked like. Which album is that one from again?
Okay, that's from the brand new one, which just came out a couple months ago. That's called A Song to Love, and it's a compilation album of all my best original tunes since 2004. So I take tunes from the first 4 albums, and I put them on this one, and it includes 2 brand new songs. Christmas on Mars, oddly enough, they're both holiday tunes. And the other one is Fruitcake Blues, which I wrote 20 years ago. And I wrote it with Duffy Bishop in mind, the great blues singer, also from the Northwest, a Grammy-nominated singer, by the way. And we have tried to record it over the years many times, usually in summer when she's in Seattle and Portland. And for some reason, it never happened. And this year we finally said, if we have to do it bi-coastal in different studios, do a duet, it's much harder to do that. But I thought, well, I've never done that. There's a first time for everything. And so we did it. And we finally recorded Fruitcake Blues, which I wrote for her and I 20 years ago. And it's on the new album. And it features the great blues sax player, Brian Kent, who's been in her band and my band at times, and Steve White from Blue Man Group is playing 3 different cowbells. I have Spencer of Escalon on bass, and I have Arwen Dewey doing background vocals with me and Duffy, and the lead vocals are me and Duffy Bishop.
Here we go. We're gonna let Fruitcake Blues roll by the Victor Janusz Band.
What makes a fruitcake? Nobody seems to know.
The tragic way you have to take that gift from a friend or a foe.
The gift that keeps on giving.
And giving and giving and giving.
The shelf life is forever.
It keeps living and living and living. Fruitcake, fruitcake, you big fat fruity fruitcake.
Full of gummy bears and Coke.
Don't eat them alone, you might choke.
On the big fat fruitcake. Fruitcake.
Fruitcake.
He gives it to her.
She gives it to him, he gives it to them over there.
The gift that keeps on giving.
And they bring it back. Nobody wants to eat it.
Not even for a snack. Don't try to take a bite, it looks like it's been shellacked.
There's something about it just ain't right.
Not even try to bite back.
the gift that keeps on giving.
And giving and giving and giving.
The shelf life is forever.
Keep living and living and living.
Fruitcake, fruitcake, you big fat fruity fruitcake.
Full of gummy bears and coke.
Don't eat them alone, you might choke.
On the big fat fruitcake.
Fruitcake. Go ahead. Eat the fruitcake. Eat the fruitcake. Fruitcake, fruitcake, you big fat fruity fruitcake.
Full of gummy bears and coke.
Don't eat them alone, you might choke.
On the big fat fruitcake.
Victor, there's an enduring funkiness to your music. I really love the way that it makes me feel when I listen to it. It's not just the music. I've been watching the music videos as well. They seem deeply theatrical, showy, fun. And I know that you've had a bit of work that's been featured at the ACT Theater up in Seattle. I'd like to hear a little bit about how theater, and I know you spoke a little bit about in the first part about how theater and music have really been the two big functions of art in your life. But how do they cross over? Like, does that happen a lot? And how do those partnerships with like the theater companies come about?
You know, that's a really great question, and I think you, Sir Charles, or what was your rapper that you had on that?
Yeah, Sir Jalen Charles. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a theater guy in music too, and I related to a lot of what he was talking about because at some point, you know, I started out as an actor. And then I realized I loved directing. And when I started directing plays, I was 26, 27 years old. And a lot of actors I worked with said, "You're supposed to be a director. You're fantastic." And some people still tell me that. But at the same time, once I started playing the piano, like some actors would see me at the cast party. If there was a piano, I'd sit down and do a funny little number just for fun for 10 minutes. And they'd go, "Wow, you're a real piano player." And I'd go, "Well, I'm really a big piano player because I hate reading music. And every time I had a piano teacher, I got fired by the teacher because they said, you like to look at your hands. You're trying to do it all by ear. You hate reading music." I go, "Oh, right, and right." And so they would fire me, you know? And so
it's funny because for me, I actually am a piano player as well, but I was classically trained from a young age. And I did it the reverse way where I started out with music and piano, learned the classical stuff, and then moved on to theater. And it seems like you kind of did it the other way around, where it's like you kind of merged everything together.
It's taken me 20 years just to learn how to write a semi-decent lead sheet, a chart. And Spencer, my bass player, he will attest. See, he's both. He's an incredible ear, gifted musician, and he's a savant at sight reading. But anyway, enough about him. No, he always checks my lead sheets, and they go, they're getting neater and neater. They look practically printed. They're perfect. I know you've checked them a million times, but there always seems to be at least one mistake on them. But I'll find it. Don't worry. Because you're getting much better though. There used to be 5 or 6 mistakes, but now there's only 1 or 2. So.
So there are two questions that I always ask of all of my guests, and forgive me, audience, if you get tired of hearing these 2 specific questions, but I just love them, and they're important to me. Victor, what are your struggles, and what is important to you when you're making and creating your art?
Well, that's a humongous question, you know.
Exactly.
What are my struggles, and what's important to me? I would say that I have to surround myself, again, if it's a group effort. I learned this in the theater as a director. You know, they say casting is 90% of everything. It's kind of true. You have to make sure you have the right people around you if you're working with a bass player, a sax player, or another singer. You have to. And I've worked with scores and scores of people, and I'm with just the right people I should be working with, and that takes a few years to develop, but it's very important. And the reason it's important is because if you're working on a song that you wrote, it might have taken you 2 weeks to write. It might have taken you 2 hours. In some cases, it has taken me 2 years to finish a song and know it's done. And those are usually the songs that are worth recording. I've probably written about 200 songs in my life, but there's only about 50 or 60 I've have survived with me, and they they go on. I lose some of them, like
Right.
I don't know, like bad groceries, or I don't know. You throw some of them out because they never came, they never developed right, or you never finished them, and you just couldn't get there. And then there's others that obsess you. And Fruitcake Blues, I wrote in 2 weeks, and I kept rearranging it for 20 years. In fact, that bridge that's on the version you just played, the little bridge in the middle with all the background vocals, he gives it to her, she gives it to him, they give it to them over there. That was all kind of last minute because I thought the song needed a bridge. That happened in the last year. So that's a kind of fun example of how when you think it's done, it might grow a little bit more,
Right.
But you have to get people who believe in what you're doing. If you're the singer, songwriter, or band leader, and it's the same in the theater. If you're a director and you're directing a play, you feel that play really has to be told to the world at this time in our lives. And so you want to make sure the right people get that and that they're going to help you send that message across. The other thing that listening to your last interview also got me thinking, one of the plays I wrote for Act Theater was a play called Hand Solo Piano Man, and it was about my life as a piano player and my relationship with the piano from the age of 8 when I got fired by that first piano teacher to now, and all the different places the piano has taken me. And I would talk about the 277 weddings I played at. I talked about playing for Barack Obama and how I thought I was being pranked by friends when they were calling me to play for him. And it actually turned out to be the real deal. I got to sing for him and play for him. And, along the way, I met many interesting people at Nordstrom, like Andre Previn and others, Eric Clapton. And so my play was about all these people I met with the songs in between, lacing it together. And that was important to me because it kind of revealed. Somebody called me a Renaissance man. You're a singer and a piano player, but you're a singer-songwriter like Carole King. You're at the piano, but you've also been an actor and a director. And I said in that play, I did a little monologue about how every song I do, whether I write it or not, is like a little one-act play. And in that song, I get to be any number of different kinds of characters. I could be me in the song. I could be me at 18. I think I was getting ready to sing the Steely Dan song, Deacon Blues, and how when I was 18, living in LA and driving down Sunset Strip in my little car Magia, I thought I was God's gift to women. And this was my theme song, I didn't quite realize I was playing in the wrong sandbox at the time, but you find out more about that later in the play. But I could pretend I'm someone else entirely. I could pretend I could pretend I'm a woman in the 1940s France whose husband is off fighting the resistance, and I don't know if he's ever coming back. That's a song I wrote, by the way, called Soldier On, and I wrote it because I'm obsessed with that era in history, the French resistance during World War II. And Arwen Dewey, I ended up shifting it from what it would be like to be a woman in the resistance, married to this guy, and being young and full of political ideals, and having to put your life on the line because, Hitler's troops have invaded your country. And I started shifting it over to her, and I finally said, Arwen, I wrote a song for you. And it's on the album. It made it on the album. I was very proud of that song. It's the first time that I completely wrote a song for another singer in my little journey there. But I think songs are like that. They're like one-act plays, and you can, if you're the singer, you can be anyone in the song. You know, you just have to make a choice and stick to it.
That's great. We're going to let the one act play of this track, Just Another Sunday, take us into the break.
Great.
Walking through your dreams, I stumbled on my own. There's nothing safe about you, flying far from home. Walking through your dreams, a lover came to me. No one can replace the one who set me free. Dancing through these dreams, a nightmare came my way. Now it's all become just another Sunday. I could take a lifetime to remember. You thought, I thought we'd never be apart. Wrapped around the still of a Sunday, what could end what we start? Da ba 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 da da ba 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 da 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 ba da da. Dancing through these dreams, a nightmare came my way. Now it's all become just another Sunday.
This episode of A Very Special Show was made possible by contributions from Oli Arts.
Oli Arts is the South Puget Sound's premier multi-platform arts publication. They are dedicated to highlighting the amazing arts and culture our community creates. They deliver information about performance, music, visual arts, and cultural events around the South Puget Sound via multiple mediums. Oli Arts offers a bi-monthly print edition, daily online content, occasional podcasts, and enhanced mobile experiences. Oli Arts is the guide to local arts and culture, from the drama of locally produced theater to the eclectic beauty of the Procession of the Species and semi-annual Olympia Arts Walk. Oli Arts print edition is hand-delivered by arts aficionados to local theater and concert patrons, while weekly online updates are curated and customized for local interest. For advertisers and community partners, Oli Arts provides unique access to a highly valued demographic of South Puget Sound audiences and readers. Whether you were born here or you're just visiting for the day, Oli Arts is your expert guide to arts and culture. Find free, up-to-date coverage of local events and happenings at oliarts.org.
For this episode's feature of the week, Twilight Theater Company.
Hi, my name is Dorinda Toner. I am the producing artistic director of Twilight Theater Company in North Portland. We're located at 7515 North Brandon Ave in the Kenton neighborhood, just up the street from the Paul Bunyan statue. Twilight Theater Company started with the idea that community theater could be more than just putting on good old chestnuts. Not that there's anything wrong with a good old chestnut now and then, but the founders wanted to create a community theater where work could be edgy, interesting, push the boundaries, push the envelope, spark conversation. We're extremely proud of our content and our quality at Twilight Theater. We really strive to make art that is accessible and innovative for not only our audiences, but for our actors, directors, and designers as well. Due to the COVID-19 crisis, arts companies in general have been hit really hard, and unfortunately, Twilight is no exception. Every year we do a Spring Fling fundraiser to generate funds to help see us through some of our operating costs for the year. This year, unfortunately, we are not able to meet in person, so we are hoping to combine our Spring Fling fundraiser with our season announcement party, which we usually do in early fall. So we have more information on that coming. We're looking at hopefully doing a live event if we're able to safely gather again, and also incorporating some online content for that as well. So stay tuned to our Facebook page and our website for more information on that fundraising event coming up this fall. Right now, we're asking people who have been a part of Twilight's history, as an audience member, as a patron, as a friend, as a director, designer, crew member, actor, former board member, advisory group member, staff, or really just anyone who is a lover of theater and the arts, to consider making a monthly pledge at this time. You can do so by going to our website at www.twilighttheatercompany.org. And remember, our theater is spelled E-R, not R-E. From there, you can click on our support button and set up a monthly or one-time donation. You'll receive an email confirmation from us. And small amounts or large amounts, everything really will help see us through this current pandemic and hopefully get us back on stage and back to sharing innovative, accessible theater in our community, both in North Portland and beyond. And that's really what we're all about.
And we are back with Victor Janusz. And like me, Victor, it seems that you have this nagging urge to stay as busy as you possibly can. For me, my mind works better when I have multiple projects at various stages of production going on all at once.
That drives me crazy. That drives me crazy.
I have this need to be creating almost in a compulsory way. I'm impelled from deep within me to just keep creating. And I know it's your day job.
I need a deadline. If somebody gives me a deadline that says, this play has to open March 30th and we need this song written for it, I go, great. It's February. March 30th will be here before we know it. Let's get started. I work well with the deadline, that's for sure.
So what? How do you feel about your creative schedule? Do you need it to be so you want a deadline, but do you like it to be deadline to deadline, or do you like to have a little space in between to give yourself a vacation, or are you just creating constantly?
You know, we're in a really weird period right now with this COVID-19 crisis because I just went 31 days without any work and without any income, and for about 4 years, I've been on a routine of maybe 1 or 2 days off a month so that I can make enough money to, make a living, basically, pay the mortgage and other things. And of course, when you produce a record, it's very expensive still, especially if you're paying everybody a decent, artist fee. I was lucky and smart enough to find a producing engineer with a recording studio who was excited enough about all the people I was bringing into his studio and the songs I write and the records I put out to be. I give him the title of producing engineer because he's very generous. The more we work together, the more generous he gets. He was very generous in making sure I got that Duffy Bishop duet out on time for the holiday. And that means he goes, gee, I'm crazy about your sax player. I'm crazy about how things are going. Let's do a couple more rounds. Let's do a few more takes. I bet you have an even better take on your background harmonies or something. He'll go, this next hour is on me. He does that more and more. He runs an outfit called Dub Train Studios in West Seattle. His name's Pete Remine. And he's a great find for me because, again, he's somebody, I've never met anybody that excited to be a mixing engineer. He mixes tracks better than anyone I've ever heard of or worked with. And it's another example of finding the right person to work with.
That's fantastic. So we're going to go ahead and go play another track right now. We're going to go into Living in a Blues State, and then we'll come back and we'll give you the last word, okay?
Okay, great.
And you keep seeing red. Gotta learn to negotiate a way out of your head. Living in a blue state, and you are flipping red. Gotta learn to negotiate a way out of my bed. Back on the good times, then revolution came. Misdemeanors and high crimes are throwing round some blame. Now there's too much aggression, no one's ever tame. Now we're facing recession, nothing stays the same. across the state line, a different point of view. Gonna change my party line and filibuster, I filibuster you. Living in a blue state, a bitter thing to do. You no longer my candidate. I don't believe in you. Don't believe in you.
Well, Victor, for me, that's all the questions, but I want to give you a little time to communicate directly with the audience about upcoming projects, events, some final thoughts, where people can find your music, whatever you want to tell the audience.
Okay. Well, I would love everyone to check out the Here Now page, which is the platform where we are releasing the brand new album, which is kind of the best of all my original tunes for the last 16 years. And there's the 2 new songs on there, Christmas on Mars and Fruitcake Blues, which you heard today on the show. And that is at the Here Now website, herenow.com. You can type in A Song to Love, my name, and it should take you right to the page. I think Kevin will also print that up on the screen. You know, we had a concert that was supposed to be tonight. It was supposed to be tonight at the Swedish Club in Seattle, which and that's going to be rescheduled for the fall, I think.
So here's to the virus going away and freeing the artists and letting people like Victor Janusz, our guest this week, go out and create more. He wants to perform live for you. Make sure you're keeping up with Victor Janusz on all social media platforms. Visit our website, take a look at the links. And I want to thank you so much, Victor Janusz, for joining us today.
Thank you. I'm so thrilled to have met you, Kevin.
Throughout my life, I've heard this phrase over and over. The world doesn't owe you anything. I have to admit that I'm not one of those to value that pull yourself up by your bootstraps mentality. But recently, another quote colorized and texturized the previous phrase for me a bit more. I'm not quite sure to whom it's attributed, but it's very simple. Writers write. I often hear friends say things like, I want to learn, or I want to do. They're waiting for the world to formally invite them to create, to do anything. The world doesn't owe you anything, least of all an invitation. The empty canvas, the empty stage, and the empty composition books are as fertile with opportunities as your great and powerful mind. Try dropping the I want and just learn and do it all. Do creativity, let it inhabit you. If you feel happy, let your art reflect your joy. If you feel sadness, allow the sorrow to take control of your creations. If you fear judgment, try channeling that fear into your work. Just don't let anything or anyone cease and bind your creative hands. Claim them for you. Use them to create you. Keep loving and keep creating. Thank you so much for listening to a very special show. Our guest next week, Stephanie Ann Johnson. Find their work at stephanieannjohnsonmusic.com. If you like what you just heard, go ahead and click subscribe. New episodes are available every Wednesday at 7 p.m. This has been a production of a very special network.